Hey guys, I hope you're having a beautiful day. I am changing out a hosing that's failed in less than 1 year. I blamed the letters made in China. But when I was working on it, there were a couple tools, and I thought there might be a moment here to share since I'm denying my kids still. It's now more than half a year, coming into 3/4 of a year since I've been able to hug them, have them sit on my lap. Any phone calls, if we include being inside the house to eat, we're a year and a half in. I had a holiday of Thanksgiving in the front yard because the house was unsafe because of that cold floor air register vent, right? So I miss you and I love you. All right, we got two tools here. We got a shiny one and we got an old cruddy one. Shiny one, look what holds it together. You see that rivet or rivets? This thing right here in the middle. It's threaded on. You can see the little red is some Loctite, so you probably could tighten it to address it. But when you squeeze hard on them, you flex this metal, right, with the handles. And this metal, although it's nice and shiny, simple things like shiny things. I guess I'm simple. I love Mylar putting on the ducks behind me. But, so I guess it's not always true. Maybe only with motorcycles and sometimes cars. So anyhow, this one, in the US, the handles don't flex, and the centerpiece is actually part of the casting, right? So this one I bought when I was in college. Still works great. This one somehow missed the purge. Most of my father-in-laws, your whatevers, the mother of my kids' father, he had a tool chest. It was an old Craftsman, you know, the red one with the really cheap slides here on the side. I don't know if I can get it in the shot. Yeah, there's no bearing. It's just a slide. Some of them don't work. Some of them don't close. The latch doesn't work. You can see like here, see how it's like crooked. I tried to bend the sheet metal. This was his squirrel condominium. He had this cool little koi pond in the backyard, and he loved feeding the squirrels. He figured if he put up more feeders, then there'd be more for the birds. And I mean, he had a ton of squirrels, and he waged a huge war against mosquitoes. I always joked that all I needed to do to get away from mosquitoes was to go to his neighbor's backyard, because like he had foggers, he had lights. So anyhow, I kicked the squirrels out, all the poo out, and everything else out. Now I made fun of him when we built some things together, because he would have tools that don't work. And there's no greater value than buying a good tool that you can just use going forward and forward and forward. And although it's not like a great tool, like my grandfather's shopsmith here, it still works. And then antiquing before, after she was meeting attorneys to get rid of me, but before she actually pulled the fire pin on it, she got this at a yard sale, and I'm going to set it up so that I mow the yard that way rather than that awesome big tractor, which there'll be a video on. So anyhow, this is going to go in the recycling because I'm tired of trying to use a wrench that doesn't work. But I also thought of a moment of truth. Like oftentimes we think that you can only hear truth because, sorry for the video bouncing around, we only can hear truth and see truth because what? Because the skin color's right, the hair color's right. I mean, after all, redheads have no souls. And how else are we going to judge? Am I not what a stay-at-home housewife should sound like? Huh? Like, what about us? What are the prejudices? If I'm a stay-at-home housewife with a training in undergrad in music, does that mean I don't know how to do anything? Does it mean I don't have a work ethic? Like, there's all sorts of these assumptions, A woman says that you're a drug-out alcoholic who's abusive to me and the kids. Everybody's basic part of their mammalian brain and their reptilian brain goes, oh my God, we have to protect the girl. And because they're actually not developed enough as human beings, they can't get in front of it. And so you get the mess of the courts and the child abuse that, it's still going on. Still works fine. Color distortion from torches. And here. So in this box, this is a drill that my dad gave me. It was used he would use it and give it to somebody else and then take it back, or who knows, on his reels and deals. If he could get a gift to count 4 times instead of 2, he'd do it in a heartbeat. And he cleaned it up and he gave it to me. And I built a lot of things. I built a house and a deck in Idaho and Colorado. Like, I've replaced the brushes and rebuilt it. But it works good. And so then he wrote these words on the inside of it. Now, it's something on the notion of buy the best tool that you can buy and that you can locate at the time. And I hope it serves you well, like all other tools in my life. And when it's your time, I'd like to give them to you. Now, he says nice things like that, but he doesn't do it. He just gives it away to everybody, you know. And it's not just because he's an abusive asshole, because he is. But there's a portion of it, like, where the person's just in shock and they're not used to the moment. Like, my mother-in-law is ex whatever, one of the child abusers who still has access to my kids and is still helped to perpetrate the lie, facilitated deceiving the court and distorting the court through money and lies. And it's resulted in the child abuse. That lady, she didn't willfully do it. She gave away all of her husband's tools to the neighbor, and I gave her some shit for it. I was like, you need to slow down. When you lost your son, you gave away his stuff to, like, everybody under it because you like to feed on the feeling. Meanwhile, somebody might have taken it for serious, you know, like the pickup truck you gave Becky and I that then you took back. Or the bike that you gave me that nobody wanted, and you said it was the least that I could have of Mike because of steadying your back at the funeral or going through all this paperwork so that you wouldn't have a lot to deal with, you know. But then, of course, you let her ask for it back. So you want it back, fine. The tool chest, no, I don't care what you say. It was a squirrel condominium. So anyhow, Rita, your grandmother, your mom's mom, gave away all the tools to the neighbor and then went ahead and gave away all the tools to me. And I was like, well, which is it? And I was like, and honestly, most of the tools that he has, I don't need. You should give them to Phil, and I'll divide them all up. And so I went through and I put the ones that should be in the trash first. And then I put together a toolkit for Rita to have over at the house because she's a new homeowner. And then they all went to her brother-in-law. But who's asking for him back in the divorce? Becky is, because they can't remember. Like, I don't understand. Here's my point. Bad people can sometimes have truth. And just because a bad person's like the person who's abusing my kids, the person who abused my love of my life and my bride, and if she hadn't, I wouldn't have fallen in love with her and been so amazing. You shouldn't be quick to judge her. You shouldn't be quick to give blame to her. Maybe, you know, it's a separate moment. Look at each moment for on its own. So when he writes something nice like this, but then sells it or just gives it away at like nothing, and I mean nothing, like beautiful drill presses, thousands of dollars of tools, just gave away for like $100 to some stranger they didn't know. And then later that person goes ahead and gives 8 pages of false testimony against his own son so his grandkids can be abused. Like a proper piece of shit. It still doesn't matter. That's a beautiful idea. There's nothing wrong with that idea. So one of the things that we do is we forget with monsters that they have nice moments, but we also, because they have nice moments, we don't hold them accountable for their shortcomings and for their ugly moments because it makes everybody feel uncomfortable. It's been days and days since the court was notified through a video that's publicly recorded and open where everybody can see. My children are still being abused. Everything I said that was in their factual, their response was to send sheriffs out to my house because I guess for them, if they had been misdealt that much, they would go kill the person. And in this made-up world of society, like our society is a dream we all agree to. So it is vastly important that we all have faith in similar ideals. Not everything. I don't think less of my best friend because he walked up the street, came in town to visit, and spent the majority of the time with my kids And the person who's abusing them and abusing me, he didn't do it to hurt me. He did it to try to help my family, right? Like, we should separate things out. I don't not visit him because I don't love him. I don't get to him because I have too much to do. And it's sad, right? You don't have to agree with everything to value a portion. That piece of shit would wake me up in the middle of the night to choke me out, to try to see fear in my eyes and repeat the whole thing, on top of all sorts of other horrifically abusive things. Still beautiful words. Kind of like the Constitution. So, Cook, Randall Lowry, you fuck. And Smith, I don't know how you keep your license. I really don't. You disregarded the medical file that was given to you to see, like, yeah, it started with ADD and ADHD, and then it ended in college on the report on the second to last page, halfway down. It speaks directly to her having an unhealthy relationship with her mother, which I pointed, and wanting her approval, which is, of course, read a trauma bonds. And once you start teaching the family how to heal from trauma bonds, like I do, well, then you cause problems, right? You got to go away. You're making her abuses no longer effective. And then also, her always being negative, her father called her sunshine and always made it positive. Don't do it. If you're listening to this, don't do it. I would love to pick up my daughters and make life easier on them. If I do that, I will break them the same way my father-in-law broke my wife. It's important that we hear reality. It's important that we hear truth. It's very important. It's healing. If you're caught in an environment without truth, listen to Adam Carolla and Joe Rogan. Like Radio Lab. Oh, it's awesome. Science Friday. If Ira Flato could actually not interrupt his guests to advertise what the hell we're listening to. He's still caught in the 50s or 60s. But some of the stuff he has on, it's really lovely. Anywho, careful where you judge. Have a beautiful day and know you're loved.